It's Sarah. It's Thursday, 7 Central. We are live. I am obviously not in my normal office. I'm pet sitting. You will see Bacon right here. I think Charlotte's back there too. So we might get some dog barks because I'm not in a place where I can control things. They're magnificent dogs, but if they see a dog or a human going by, sometimes they will react. Again, this podcast is for you guys. We have a terrific guest tonight. She's also one of our sponsors, Bark Pouch. Brandi's going to be on with me. So please, if you have a question for her, because I know a lot of people use her product and know of her. So this podcast is also for you. So obviously, if you're listening to this podcast later, you can't ask questions, but you can always email me questions or message them on social media. But for those of you that are watching live on our streams, please feel free to ask questions. I did want to brag about some numbers before we get to Brandi. So I already, from the relaunch, we have 1,000 downloads and streams already in July, which is spectacular. Even better is that we have 1,635 live streams. So 1,635 people have either watched us live or gone back and watched the video, which means so much to me. It means that we're reaching people on all platforms. So Twitter, even I went to Twitter and people have watched the live podcast, have watched it back. It's so nice to be able to see those statistics and brag about them. And part of that is our wonderful sponsors, which bring us this podcast. And I'm going to roll our presenting sponsors right now. Unmuzzled is presented by the following sponsors. Bark Pouch. Bark Pouch believes there's no greater joy than a delightful time with your dog or dogs, plural. We like a lot of dogs around here. So they make irresistible lickable treats that are easy to use while walking, training, grooming, familying, friending, and even vet visits. Check them out, barkpouch.com. Kiki's Corner Natural Pet Foods in downtown Winfield, Illinois, just a block south of CDH Hospital on the railroad tracks. Kiki's has all your food and health aid needs for dogs and cats. Kiki's Corner for a healthy, happy pet. Canine Cruise is the place to take your pet. They offer dog and cat boarding, dog daycare, pet retail, and mindful day school. With over 12,000 square feet of indoor space and a spacious yard, they are the one-stop shop for professional pet care in Chicago. So great. Yes, Melissa, I know that you've used those a lot. So many people, it's a go-to. I can't wait to get to Brandi. And I just wanted to mention too, it's so great that I know all of the sponsors. And I think that's why they kind of trust me to do this. But yeah, Catherine from Canine Cruise, we had an event a few weeks ago, West Fest, where I got to see her. I got to see Ginger actually at PetCon from Kiki's Corner this weekend. She adopted a Chihuahua on the spot. So I just love that. I love that I get to see everybody. It means a lot to me. And I think having a personal friendship relationship with the people that support you is so important. And that brings me to Brandi Barker of Bark Pouch. How are you?
I am good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much, first of all, for supporting this. It helps me with all of my fees to get this out of there, out there on the airwaves. And I love my numbers so far. It's, the best numbers that I've had. I know I shouldn't be looking at stats. I should be looking at content, but I think our content has spoken for itself. We've had some amazing guests, and I'm so honored to have you. And Brandi and I were just talking before we started. So I thought that we had met through Gavin, her dog, who unfortunately had cancer and lived like Roo assisted, but we met at Animal Control. So Brandi, I would love for you to tell this story, please. And also let's talk about Gavin as well.
Yeah. So I was volunteering at Animal Care and Control, and I went through an orientation, and I had recently lost my first adult dog, Finn. And I just heard this dog barking, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think that's Finn telling me he's come back and another dog. I have to come back and meet him. So I went back the next day to meet this dog, and you brought the dog out, and we interacted for very little time. It's been so long ago, I can't remember, but you said in the nicest way possible very quickly, you're like, no, this isn't your dog. So I was very grateful because Gavin was my sweet little muffalata, and I miss him so much. And I will always miss him.
Her for a second.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Hello?
Oh, are we still live? Oh, we're going. I was just emailing you. Okay, guys, I'm really sorry. Wow, people hung out still for this.
Yay! I was like, refresh. I don't know what happened.
Okay, so this is what happens when I'm relying on Wi-Fi. I think it's on my end. Usually I'm hardwired. So I apologize, everybody, for that commercial break, I guess is what you called it. I don't know what you saw or heard, and I'm sorry if I swore. Here we are. Oh, man. Hey, if it's not an adventure, it's not fun.
Right.
I'm so sorry. Anyway, I would love for you to tell. So anyway, guys, I told Brandi at Chicago Animal Care and Control that a dog was not right for her. And unfortunately, I don't remember that. And I feel awful, but I usually can tell. I think I don't know. I feel bad, but I guess I was right because you ended up with Gavin. So
yes,
please tell the story of sweet Gavin.
So gosh, we don't have enough time, but he came to me through a live rescue, and he was, God, he was just so sweet. Like his little body, he was diagnosed with cancer the first time in 2017, and that was the first of 7 to possibly 12 cancerous tumors that we found on him, depending on which vet you ask and his arsenal of veterinarians. But you guys helped me so much. You know, when you're building a business, the first few years at least, I would have to look at my records. I didn't pay myself, and I was relying on a dog trainer salary, and then COVID hit, and I literally lost everything. Like I lost an entire pauper's income, and it took so much out of me to reach out to you to help with his bills. And you did, and you saved my dignity in the process. And as much as his body just raged against him, the little dude just wiggled and smiled and scrunchy face for every person he met. He brought so much love into this world, and he was my heart boy.
Yeah, I know it's so hard. Yeah, the thing with him too, I remember you reaching out, and I just remember, you were really good at updating us too about how he was doing. And, it was really difficult. One thing I love about what you do in Bark Pouch is just you're real. Like you tell real stories, You really put it out there, how you're feeling and what you're doing. And, your machines are broken right now. And I really do love that part of it. But I think too, if you can kind of tell us, and that is tough, starting a business and then, really sinking in medical bills for what is your whole world, really.
Yeah.
But how did Bark Pouch come to be? And I want to talk about, how you started a small business and how far you've come, and your give back to Live Like Roo, which means so much to us. I mean, you sponsor this, but you also give back every month to Live Like Roo. So tell us about how this this dream all came about?
Well, I was a dog trainer in Chicago, and my clients were cutting up hot dogs and they're dropping treats on the ground, and their dogs are nipping their fingers, or their dogs were refusing treats, and everything we tried was just so cumbersome for the person. So it was really hard for them to focus on what they were trying to focus on, what they were paying me to focus on, and that was training their dogs and walking their dogs in a really high distracting environment. And, there was a point that I tried baby food jars. And then immediately I was like, oh yeah, glass and sidewalks and dog paws. That is a terrible idea. And then I started kind of making my own concoctions and putting them in the go tubes. But I was really concerned about, life is just so busy. It's really easy to put a new product on top of old product, and then you're taking a product outside that has been, outside many, 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 many times, and it's really unsafe. So I decided that because I couldn't find a better solution, I would create one. And because I was a dog trainer, I had lots and lots and lots of willing participants that were willing to taste test things. And there were a few that even my highly food motivated dogs are like, yeah, no, we're not going to eat that. That's disgusting. I think the stinkiest one I made was pumpkin and sardines. Even my high food motivated dogs were like, yeah, no, that's too much. We're gonna pass on that one.
I love that. And I know every time I have an event and I go over the flavors with everybody. So Brandi, what she does is she donates a certain amount of pouches to us, and people can also donate them to Live Like Roo when they do a purchase. So she matches the donations. So what we put as many as we can in care packages, and then we have so many left over that I bring them to events and I give them away, or we sell them. Mostly we give them away. So Brandi has new customers, but they all are like, oh, my dog will love sardines and cream. My dog will love the liverwurst. But how do you kind of come up with the combinations? Because I think that is kind of cool. And then you have dogs with allergies. So you are always thinking, okay, well, if this dog's allergic to chicken, they can still have this. But I assume it's a lot of work in the test kitchen.
It was. I mean, there initially, yes. I would love to create new recipes. It's just there's so much that goes into it from all the regulatory standpoints that it's just not feasible at this time. So I always say my peanut butter and blueberry is I keep saying I have an amazing team. So it's not just they deserve so much credit because they're phenomenal. But our peanut butter and blueberry is really for like your food motivated dog who is like, snacks are delicious, like my little Mabel. Our turkey and chicken is one of our low fat blends. So as long as the dog doesn't have any poultry allergies, that's a really good option. Our salmon and ricotta is also a nice low fat blend. So, those two are the ones I steer people towards if they're looking for something that's lower fat for their dogs. When you're training a dog, we all know that sometimes you're just pumping so many treats that you worry about digestive upset and weight gain. But the two high value ones that are the beef and liverwurst. So for the dogs that aren't as food motivated and are really struggling, if their anxiety affects their appetite, the beef and liverwurst and the sardines and cream cheese are really go-tos for people. And I specifically made the sardines and cream cheese to have mostly cream cheese. So it's going to be higher fat, but at the same time, it's also the cream cheese masks the smell of the sardines a little bit for people like me who don't like the smell of fish.
Yeah, good point. So Kyla has a good question. And I get this a lot too about if cats can have these.
Yes. So I always tell my dad, who asked me for cat training advice, that I know enough about cats to be dangerous. But I can tell you that the turkey and chicken and the salmon and ricotta have been really popular with cat people, with people who love their cats.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I think it's interesting too, because I think of it in a different way. Like, this all started with like trying to train dogs and get them to do certain things. And I use it to like hide pills or like to put on the top of a meal that, Herman won't eat, or he's decided this week he doesn't like hot dogs or whatever we can get. It is a really good training tool for, even for my clients in the pet care business for like walking and redirecting, which is really like how this all started.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it was really because a lot of treats that are out, and I'm not dissing them at all because I use them with my own dog, but a lot of treats, because they're baked, the smell isn't as powerful. So ours really, because it's kind of a toothpaste moist consistency, we keep the smell there. So it's, one, the smell is really enticing. And then two, it just makes the dispensing of it, you can squeeze a little, unless you're squeezing it really hard. One of our 50-gram pouches, it used to last me 3-hour-long walks with Gavin. It's the product, we work really hard to make the product so the consistency is thick enough that you just squeeze a tiny bit and a little goes a long way.
Yeah, I love that. And I know, we've talked about grooming and walking, but also the vet, which I mentioned, when I do the little promo read for the sponsorship, it's perfect for the vet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually a great idea. It's something, again, that I never thought of that you could use it for. That's great.
Yeah, I take it to Mabel's been in and out of the vet the past couple of weeks with a little infection, and they're my go-to. I use my own products.
Yeah, that's what we love. We love using the product. So as somebody who has just started my second small business, I like how we say small, and like Live Like Roo has given out $2 million, and we're growing, which is it's become bigger. And I think when I talked to Farm to Pet Jackson about this, he almost recoiled at the thought of it becoming a big business, because it gets to be a little bit scary. Even if you're bringing in money, it's still the stress of, cranking out product. And if your machine breaks and you've got all these orders, and the stress of, having people breathing down your back about when is this going to be ready. So kind of tell me, what have been the biggest hurdles? What has been like some of your biggest successes? Giving back to Live Like Roo means so much to us. And sometimes I almost feel like I don't want you to, because I don't want to take anything away from you, but I know it means so much to you to give back so much to us. But yeah. But kind of, I would love to hear, what, early on you told us about some of those hurdles, but how has this grown now?
So I would say the first biggest hurdle that took me 8 years to get through. So I always tell people who are starting a small business that, they say that 2 years in, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so much work. I'm like, well, it could take a lot longer. So the first hurdle for the first 8 years was that the product was frozen, and distributing it was, when you're tiny, everything costs more because you're paying a premium. So I was distributing it via shipping with dry ice. And so I could only ship on Mondays. I was charging $20 for shipping, which people are used to Amazon free shipping. And, that's a lot of money, but it would cost me upwards of $80 if I needed to ship something to California. So, I did it knowing that I would eventually be shelf stable. And, I had to get a loan to do that. I had to hire food scientists to do that the right way, because, there's nothing that means more to me than putting out a safe product to people who love their dogs. So that was a really big hurdle. And then we were in a commercial kitchen, because once we went shelf stable, we were under FDA guidelines. So we were in a commercial kitchen. Before you're under FDA guidelines, if you're only under Department of Agriculture guidelines, you can make it in a home kitchen as long as you're stating it on your labels. But when we moved to a commercial kitchen, it was a rent by the hour kitchen, which is really hard to determine how much time it would take us to make our product, because pouches explode, the heat doesn't get up the way as quickly as we want it to. And quite frankly, we were sharing the kitchen with people who were not as clean as we are. I mean, we would spend about 20 to 30 minutes before each shift cleaning up other people's messes so that we could make our product in a clean environment. So we moved to our own kitchen, and, anytime you make a move, it's, electrical outlets don't work the way they, you're using your maximum electricity. It's just, there's always something. So you just have to be nimble and go, okay, you know what, if we have to turn the power off and on 3 times in a day, if that's the worst thing that happens, we're good. And I would say now it's really just a matter of, I have an amazing team. I have my dream team finally, and I'm doing everything I can to keep them and and keep them happy. But our piston filler, we started having issues, and the manufacturer sent us the wrong part. So we've lost another week waiting for the part to install. And, we decided while we were in there, we were going to do some maintenance and replace some hoses and replace some filters and whatnot. So I'm somebody who likes to be really proactive, and I get a little, I struggle when I bought this machine 4 years ago and asked what the maintenance schedule was. They said we didn't have any maintenance. And then we have issues when we've got 500 pouches worth of product ready to go, and I've got that product spewing all over my employees. And, those are the things that keep me up at night and stress me out, because I'm like, I really want to be proactive about this. And the experts that sold me the machine don't necessarily have any type of maintenance schedule. So figuring everything out on your own, it's not easy. I mean, but once we do, it's always, we're patting ourselves on the back and cheering and spinning in circles and doing all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it's so true. It's one thing that I've learned quickly. I think it's all on you.
Yeah.
And you can have staff and everything and volunteers and, but in my business, my pet care business, it's on me.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't F up, I can't, it's got to be right. And if I don't do things right, I don't have a business in the future.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think when that kind of hits you, and it hits you kind of hard, especially when something does go wrong, and you're like, oh my God, this is the end. This is the end of my business. Even with Live Like Roo, I mean, things go wrong all the time.
Absolutely.
Maybe one mad person or one dog that doesn't make it through surgery that you've sponsored, or there's so many things that can go wrong, and that part of it is scary. As a business owner, I definitely feel that. Yeah. Do you have advice for somebody that is thinking? Because I think back to 10 years ago, I would have been way too frightened to start a business on my own, with or without Live Like Roo, from just say cutting ties with corporate America and not having, a 401k or benefits. I would have been so frightened. But I think as you age, you realize hey, this is not everything. I've got to do something. But is there a piece of advice you would give to people that want to maybe take that jump?
I would say try to get your operational pieces in alignment before you start. My big point of contention for the longest time was QuickBooks, because I don't like to sit down. I think better when I'm moving and using my brain. So my QuickBooks was always sitting there waiting for me. And then, I would spend all night for weeks on end before tax time came, getting it updated. And then I found somebody on TaskRabbit who automated it. And now I spend literally 15 minutes twice a week and just put everything through, because she categorized everything for me. So, thinking through things like that, the operational things that really, I mean, I could spend all my time doing nothing but QuickBooks the way I was doing it before, trying to find answers to that before you really dive in, because it's a good problem when you start having sales and you're trying to get your accounting done, that you have sales to try to categorize. But when you have those sales and they start adding up and you don't know what you're manually doing it can take a lot of time and be really stressful for somebody that doesn't like sitting down.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I will say, with Live Like Roo, same thing. And I'll talk about Sarah to the Rescue Pet Care in a second. But when I got Tiffany, our accountant, on board, everything changed, because what happens is when you start a business, you just want to go. You don't want to do the things operate, what you said, operational, all the paperwork, taxes. So with Live Like Roo, I didn't even know everything I needed before I launched it. And I didn't need to be in a hurry, but I was like, oh, we're a 501c3. Let's go. No, hold on. You've got to get all this. And when you realize, and I tell people this a lot, when you realize how much, if I went back now and realized how much I would have to do, I don't know if I would have done it. And that's sad, but it's a lot of work to start a nonprofit, number one, to start a small business. Yes, too, because I tried to eliminate all debt I had so that I was starting with like, okay, I can go into this now with very little overhead as far as, pet sitting. I don't have a lot of overhead. But I also started like 6 months before was my deadline to try to get out of corporate America. So I was able to, do the website behind the scenes, try to get clients, kind of like secretly, not really, but that part is so important. Like you can't just like quit one day and start small business the next day. It takes so much work behind the scenes. So I totally agree with you. And the taxes is a whole nother beast.
Oh yeah.
So for our accountant at Like Roo and my personal accountant, Anthony, I can't say enough about him. So shout out to the people that do our taxes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Shout out to Joel and Jeff. Because I'm just not a numbers person. I mean, I have to do it, but the taxes, it scares me to not have them in my corner.
And another thing that you don't want to jack up because it can really affect your future. Speaking of future, what do you want to do next?
Well, I would like to sell more. We've kind of been in a holding pattern because we've had some equipment issues. I was hoping with my dream team now that I have to be able to get out and do some more marketing and actually do some sales because I do enjoy that. I have a recruiting background from my life in the corporate world. Very long time ago, but I would like to increase our sales. I would like to eventually outsource some things. I would take care of my team, of course, because they're amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's really just a matter of growing, and it's growing in the right way. I've kept things small on purpose because, I know what happens when our equipment breaks down. It can add hours to our cleanup time. We lose product. And when you lose product, you lose money. And when you have to pay for repairs, you have to pay for, there's expenses involved in that. So, I just want to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row before we really start pumping out the volume that I'd like to be pumping out.
So interesting. Kyla is telling you to go on Shark Tank.
So I actually, when we started, and I'll keep this short, but when I started Bark Pouch, I had two business partners. They both just family got busy, and they decided we parted ways very amicably. And one of them looked into it initially, and at least this was 2014 when we first launched. It's a lot of money to get on Shark Tank. Like it costs a lot of money. So we just decided to invest in ourselves. And, we've still got quite a few ducks in a row to get situated before I'm in a position to be able to process the volume that might even bring in.
If anybody's listening and you want to sponsor Brandi getting on Shark Tank,
put it out to the universe. I love it.
Brandi, thank you so much. I'm going to have you hang on for a second, but I'm going to close out this show. Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you again for sponsoring this podcast, but also more importantly, giving back to Live Like Roo every month. It really means that to us. So please, everybody, go to barkpouch.com and buy these because she gives back so much to me personally and all the animals with cancer. It means so much. Brandi, thank you.
Thank you.
Hang on. I'll be right with you in a second.
Okay.
All right, guys, that was Brandi, and I love her. She seriously is a wonderful human being. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm going to go back and fix some things. That's why I'm having her hang on. But I would like to thank our supporting sponsors before we do that. We can't do this podcast without our following supporting sponsors. Twin Tails Market and Barkery is a local family-owned business that has been serving the community for close to 7 years. Located in Palos Park, Twin Tails has everything you need to give your dogs and cats healthy and natural foods, treats, chews, toys, and much, much more. You can find them at twintailsmarket.com and on Facebook and Instagram at Twin Tails Market. The Canine PT specializes in helping senior dogs improve their independence with their daily routine as they age, heal, or recover post-surgery through exercise, massage, laser, and acupuncture so they can live their golden years without the need for pain medication. Brilliant work you're doing, Canine PT. Anything is Possible is Chicago's premier dog training company. I have sent so many people to Anything is Possible. They offer group classes for every stage of your dog's life and have a talented team of behavior specialists to work through any issues that need modification using positive reinforcement. Liz Starks at Guaranteed Rate. Check with Liz for the absolute best mortgage options. She helps when others can't and even calls it rescue loans. Buyers, sellers, or investors, give Liz a call. She can lend in all 50 states. NMLS number 224526. Kimberly King Photography. Kimberly is a professional photographer from Chicago who loves animals as much as you do. That's a lot. Her pet portraiture celebrates pure love, connection, and the beauty of life with our furry loved ones by our side. Canine Therapy Corps. Give back and volunteer with your dog at Canine Therapy Corps. Volunteer teams empower and motivate individuals through goal-directed, animal-assisted therapy services free of charge across Chicagoland. Visit caninetherapycorps.org for more information. Thank you, supporting sponsors. By the way, I know all those people personally too. So it is so nice to personally know the sponsors. Thank you guys again for getting through those technical issues. I really appreciate it. Again, usually I'm plugged in, but I'm relying on Allie, your Wi-Fi. Just kidding. Next week, I have Alana Rizzo. She actually runs a foundation in Massachusetts called Guidry's Guardian. I better get that right by next week. Foundation. She's going to be an amazing guest. For those of you that are sports fanatics, she actually worked for the Dodgers for a bit as the team reporter for the LA Dodgers. So we connected through that, but we've known each other through animal rescue, and I've helped a few of their dogs through Live Like Roo. They do incredible work. Oh yeah, that's the blanket of Salty, their old dog. I'm gonna have to edit this out of the actual podcast. But Kyla, thank you for all your comments. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, that's gonna do it for this week. Please tune in next week. I love you, and we will see you then.